Welcome back to another episode of The Culture Connection. I'm John Graham, your host, and we are here at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville, Tennessee. And I am delighted to be joined by Kat and George Vasquez. Did I say that
That's
correctly?
Right.
Okay.
Bingo.
And they're with Revolution Media, Revolution TV, right?
Yeah.
So we got all that going. But a special thing going on called Your Story Is Not Done. And there is the book visual aid for it. So guys, tell me about how you got started and how God has been using your stuff.
Long story made short. I was a college baseball player, small school in Kentucky, and ended up playing for Athletes in Action.
Okay.
And so did a stint with them 3 months. And while I was out there, I just started having these dreams, and God was started to tug at my heart that we need to go after the kids with the band T-shirts and the painted fingernails. And so when I got hurt, and told the coach, hey, I really want to pursue this. And so we started Revolution, and we started doing little mini Billy Graham crusades. And next thing you know, we'd throw a $60,000 Toby Mac concert in the middle of the river in Louisville. And then
What year was this?
This was 01, 02,
Back
back in the day. And we really felt like God said, hey, there's so many ministries that are high maintenance and low impact. And we really felt that
that's a tweetable comment.
It's
right
the
there.
truth. It's the truth.
Wow.
And so I really felt one day that he spoke to my heart that, hey, you'll have a ministry that's low maintenance and high impact. And from that day forward, I was like, that's the filter that I would look at things, is like, okay, how can we make this small but make it massive in scale in outreach? And so that always, like I love your all setup here. That's the kind of stuff that's like, okay, wait a minute, how can we make it more efficient and more impactful? And so we kind of shut down our outreach ministry at that time and said we were waiting on God to open up television. And we were doing our last radio show. Buying our last spots for on the radio for the show, and that's how I met Kat. And so 12 days later, we were engaged. And kids, do not do it that way. That's not. Listen, if you're in college right now and you're praying about your future mate, that is not the way to do it. Okay, but it was a long story for that. But
we don't have time for it.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. But needless to say, God knows what you need when you need it, and she was everything I ever wanted and needed. And she happened to be a broadcasting major, was a news reporter, and ended up trying to get home and took the first job at this radio station that she used to be a DJ. And so that's how it ended up. And so we were married for a year and felt the tug to start pursuing television, and ended up with Revolution TV and 16 networks around the world. So That's how we launched.
So Revolution TV, what tell me all of what comes with that. I mean, there's a lot to unpack, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we use media. We're media missionaries. That is our goal. Mm-hmm. And so early on, it was broadcasting. Broadcasting was, and honestly, it seemed big, but it was so easy, right? You get on television, reach massive people, and now it's like, no, now we got to go into social media and digital media. And so we did Revolution TV for many years as an actual 30-minute show. It aired 16 networks around the world: Australia, London, Indonesia, New Zealand, and it was an outreach show. So it had like a lot of interviews, bands, but mainly youth-oriented. So a lot of Christian networks would put it, they would license it, and they would pick it up and put it on their youth blocks, right? And so we did that for 12 years?
It was 13 seasons.
13
the Revolution
seasons.
TV was on for 13 seasons by the grace of God.
Yeah.
He truly uses the foolish things.
Yeah. And so then a few years back, I would say 5 years ago, God just put on our heart. I had written a book called No More Rejection. And there was a young lady that was doing mission work in LA area. And we got a letter from her mom. And her mom was saying, hey, Hannah, her name's Hannah, we could use her first name. Hannah, is kind of backslidden. And I just felt led to send her a book. And so I started writing in the book. And I just felt like God said, hey, tell her your story's not done. And so I wrote that. And the next day we were going to Christmas Eve lunch that we always do with Kat's family. And I just felt like God was like, hey, there's so many Hannahs out there. And there's so many people that feel like they're done. Go tell them your story's not done. And usually when God prompts that in my heart, there's a website attached to it.
Right, yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even look. I just said, Kat, go on to GoDaddy. Go get Your Story's Not Done. I really feel like God's saying, let's do this. And so we did. And it's a campaign to spread the hope of Jesus. And a lot of people have bought into it, some very talented people. And we started with a film series. And so we had, there was a DP, very great DP, Kevin Bryant, that said, hey, I want to do the pilot. He was the DP on the feature film, The Song. The Song, which that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, gorgeous movie. And so he did our first one, and then just people started piling on. We had one of the best animated graphics, motion graphics artists that basically donated the intro package, and it just spun out,
That's amazing.
So
Kat, tell me what happens with Your Story's Not Done. What's this campaign about? How does this work?
So simply put, Your Story Is Not Done shares the hope of Jesus. And we've got this little adage, it's watch, read, and wear. So on our website, YourStoryIsNotDone.com, people can watch the film series, which it's currently airing on Amazon Prime and Roku.
Nice.
And secondly, we've got this practical little brief book. It's
The book.
Yes, it's
We'll
an
talk about the stickers in a
encouraging
minute.
read. It simply shares the hope of Jesus. It introduces Jesus to the viewers, and it also dives into stories of characters in the Bible who were not 10 feet tall and bulletproof. They were just like
Which is pretty
you
much
and
everybody,
I.
right?
Just like you and I. And the Lord uses imperfect people like you and I, like King David in the Bible, like Esther, like Saul to Paul.
Yeah.
He uses imperfect people to weave his storyline of hope through and brings a miraculous comeback story. And in one of the chapters of the book, well, there are several chapters here, but the story of King David, he planned a man's murder because he was lusting after the man's wife, who back in the day, you could be stoned to death. And he was the king, and he was living in, a religious community. So this man, David, planned the murder. He had an affair. She got pregnant. They tried to cover it up. But the child who became King Solomon was later in the lineage of Joseph, Jesus' father, earthly father.
Yeah.
So that in a nutshell explains how the Lord can use imperfect people, and it just showcases how much he loves us. It's Romans 8:39. Nothing can separate us from the love of our perfect
absolutely.
Father. And I think that is a conversation that we all need to be having. We can be the moms and pops for those young people today that may not have a father in the picture, or parents showing them and bringing them to church and loving on them, telling them about their biblical true identity as sons and daughters of God and how they are treasured, they're capable.
Yeah.
God has a purpose for them. So it's you and I, our job to go and run after those out there that may not have a grid for who a perfect loving Father is. So this book and our film series are just two ways that we explain that.
Yeah.
And the third, we've got a backstory podcast, a podcast where we invite people to share their personal stories, because we believe that everybody has a story, and that your story could be the key to someone else's freedom.
So true.
In the book of Revelation, it talks about how we overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony in the end times. And are we not in the end times?
Hello.
I mean, we are
Yes.
closer to Jesus' return today than we were yesterday.
Absolutely.
Understatement, right?
Simple math, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more indications that make it feel like we're spinning up,
So we encourage people to share their story on the podcast, and we showcase those stories in 3-minute bits, because your story could help someone else and give them hope.
You've got these really cool stickers. They're kind of, I don't know, OHC choppers kind of looking thing,
Yes,
Orange County
that's
chopper
it.
kind of. It's really cool. Tell me what you do with these things.
So we use these stickers during outreach opportunities. And again, my husband and I, for 20 years, we've always had a heart for the kids that go to the concerts, that may never volunteer to go to church, or who have never been to church or heard about Jesus at all. So we go to them.
Yeah.
And so this is a simple little tool that we pass out at concerts and festivals.
In my upbringing, Southern Baptist, evangelical, there was a big campaign in the 80s and early 90s, and there was this long witnessing presentation, sales presentation, basically.
Yeah, be sincere. Be sincere. And in sales, if you believe in your product, it's easy to be sincere. And as a believer, we believe in the Lord. It's very easy for us to be sincere. And so I think that goes better than, like you mentioned. I mean, I played for Athletes in Action. They do the Campus Crusade model, 4 spiritual laws.
Right.
And it's great, and it's super solid. And but at the same time, sometimes it could be too scripted. And I hate scripts. In work, I hate scripts. I rather, learn the points, learn what you need to do, learn your business, and then share it genuinely. It's the same with the Lord. Learn the gospel and live it, be born again, live it, be around people that are going to encourage you, and then be honest. I've missed the boat here, but guess what? His grace covered me, and His grace saved me. And so it's I love this because the story, we're encouraging other people to evangelize by sharing their story.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. It's this is what God did for me. If He did it for me, He could do it for you.
And this is where we need everyone's help. And I think this is interesting. Acts 2 is the name of your ministry. If you look at the model of Jesus, when He shared those stories and parables, He afterwards asked those folks, come follow me, be a fisher of men. And then what was the next step? It was relationship.
Right.
Actually doing life with Jesus. How amazing. So the disciples got to see firsthand how God in the flesh loved people and restored them, saw them already restored and redeemed. And then what happened after that? The Acts 2 church. I think community and unity is what the church needs. Maybe we need to do a little bit better. Reaching out to those that may not look like us, that we may be unfamiliar with their routine and their tribe. But the Lord, Jesus is coming back for a unified church. And the Bible says they will know us by our love.
Yep.
And Christ's love reached across the aisle. He hung out with the sinner of sinners, the chief sinners back in the day, the prostitutes, y'all.
Yep. Guys, it's such a joy to hang out with you. I'm so excited about Your Story Is Not Done. Definitely, I mean, this is like the evangelism approach of now, because people have got to realize that, their story's not done, but their story, their story's got a beautiful ending if they'll follow Christ. And so, Kat and George Vasquez.
Yeah.
Vasquez.
Yeah.
All right, I got to make sure I get it right. And Your Story Is Not Done. YourStoryIsNotDone.com.